Are you willing to take a fine to keep playing a show if the show is just hitting that perfect vibe?
If the vibe is there and you can afford the fine, why not, dude? Just do it. Turn up.
Where in the world are you?
I'm in Seattle right now. Yeah, I'm in Seattle, Washington.
In an era of soulless cookie cutter rock, he's got soul, he's got feeling in his music, and he's here with me right now. Ayron Jones, thank you for taking some time with me to be here. Being a singer-songwriter, how can you tell a good song from a bad song when you hear it on the radio?
Oh, man, that's an interesting question because I think it really is all subjective. But if you're asking my opinion as a industry professional, it comes down to arrangement and composition, man. Those are the keys to any good song is arrangement and composition, and I think that's like as lame as that is as an answer. So I bet some people were like, oh, well, it's got to be these things. No, it's really basic. It's arrangement, composition, and formula, and learning how to infuse your personality and the things that make you into those things. Some of the best songs of all time are capture the essence of the band or the person or the group, and learn how to put it in this way that people can hear and consume and listen to. There's certainly a math and science to it.
Well, I can hear the essence of your hometown of Seattle in everything you do. Grunge is certainly baked into your sound, but you've got so many other things. You've got soul, you've got pop. What is the scene like in Seattle these days? Like, is there still a heavy, lingering grunge influence going on there? Are there still 24 bands trying to be the next Nirvana? How would you distill down what's happening in Seattle right now?
Nirvana is like the greatest gift and curse that ever bestowed itself upon the Northwest. In that, it inspired this crazy amount of music to come out of Seattle. The scene here is so vibrant. There's so many different bands and different groups trying to accomplish the very thing that I'm beginning to accomplish. And it is a beautiful scene, very, very rich in music. The issue that we have is that we lack industry. And then the other issue we have is that I think grunge maybe left a mentality that you don't need the corporations and you don't need the higher ups to get to where you want to be, which was like, really the attitude of grunge was anti-establishment, anti-corporation, anti-all this. The hard thing about that, though, was people had a hard time separating the imagery and what was being projected from the reality. These cats were all saying this while getting a fat paycheck from these corporations and things like that. So it is both this beautiful place that music thrives and evolves and changes into this magnificent thing. And a lot of times, a lot of really great rock groups come out of here, but at the same time, it's still learning its way through the industry now. Now that the 90s are gone, that we're not having as much of like I said, man, it's not like the labels, just not the managers, the agents, and the people to make the music get out there. So people in Seattle have to work really hard to get out.
Are noise complaints a bad thing? Because word out there is that you got quite a few of those in your early days coming up in the scene.
I don't think they're necessarily a bad thing, no. It depends on who you ask, but not for me. I don't mind them too bad. It's kind of a badge of honor for me.
My dad still talks about a show that Ted Nugent put on in downtown Charlotte in the 1970s because it's renowned for being so insanely loud and creating so many problems with the locals in that area. It's the reason they started implementing music concert curfews in the state of North Carolina. Are you willing to take a fine to keep playing a show if the show is just hitting that perfect vibe?
Hell no. No, I'm not willing to take a fine. Pay who? No, thank you. I'm just joking, man. I try as much as I possibly can to go with the vibe. I think even, I feel bad about this, but this happened the other night when I was opening for the Pretty Reckless. We definitely got we're in a vibe and kind of went over our time by a pretty good chunk, so which I feel bad about. I never want to intentionally do that or run into anybody else's show time. But, if the vibe is there and you can afford the fine, why not, dude? Just do it. Turn up. You know what I'm saying?
You had a difficult upbringing and you're not afraid to talk about it in your lyrics. You come out of the gate, first line in Take Me Away with just this gut-wrenching raw lyric that I remember that line and how it impacted me immediately the first time. Most singer-songwriters won't talk about that kind of stuff, or if they do, they write, oh, I've come through a lot and I am undeniable. It's garbage a lot of the times. All the best art is based in truth and the struggle of the artist. Do you see your music as a nightly therapy session while you're on stage?
in a way it is, because I when you're able to talk about something as much as I have, and then in my lifetime, but also especially now at this point in my career, those things don't have as much power over your emotions anymore, because you're able to talk about them openly, and realize that you don't have the same hangups as you used to. And there are people around you that have also been through very similar things in their lives, if not worse. But I've gotten to a point now where I realize that it's so healing for other people that have been through something like that, rather than myself at this point. But I'm doing good. I can't complain about anything in life, really. Well, like when I was in Huntsville, Alabama, for instance, I was playing a show at a place called Shag Nasty's, and I'll never forget, this cat walked up to me, man, tears in his eyes, and he was just explaining to me how Take Me Away was kind of his saving grace, because his mom had just passed away recently, and like, he was just really struggling with it, man. And it's like, I'll never forget this. He asked me what advice I had for him. And I said, you're never going to get over the pain. You just have to live with it, And so I think maybe music is just my way of living with it and being okay with the fact that sometimes life gets rough, man. And you can't, there are certain pains that you're not going to be able to get over. You just kind of live with them and move past them, and realize that it's always going to hurt a little bit.
I think of a song like Daddy from Korn. Of course, that's not one of their hits, and it's buried deep on an album, and they never really play it live, but it's a fantastic, phenomenal piece of art to see somebody go through a piece of pain like that on stage. So let's talk about your new record, Child of the State. Came out last year. From the artist side of things, is the album format still the way to go?
Oof. I mean, I think that's an artist question, man. I do believe albums are still alive, though. I think they are still very relevant, even though it's kind of harder to wade through the murky waters these days with all the singles and ways you can put music out. But for me personally, I think that albums are still the way to go. I do like the format of releasing singles too. Just could be a constant stream of music for people is also pretty cool as well. But I think there's something to albums, man. I think there's, when you look back in history, you're not going to go, oh, that single was so dope. You're not going to go like, oh, that one or two songs they had off that one year they put that music out was so dope. It's usually a collection of records, and in my opinion, the album's a way, because, you release a single, you're just releasing hot tracks, you're releasing like what you think has the most legs, what you think is going to get the most people involved with your music at that time. You put an album out, and there are songs that you maybe won't put as a hot track. They're not going to be like the single, and you get to dive into what makes the artist who they really are, what makes them tick. Those are the songs for me I look forward to the most in albums. So for me, that's why I think albums are really still the way to go.
Filthy is your new song. Filthy is out, and it's got all those themes that we kind of talked about already. It's got rebellion and struggle and youth frustration and coping with all of it. For me, music was always my mechanism for dealing with stuff that was going on with me. And I feel like maybe some kids these days don't have that. And look, we can say kids these days, I'm 38, 36. Yeah. We have officially at a point in our life where we can say that. How important to them But because so much music is, it's mass produced, it's commoditized, it's watered down. Like, how do we get kids back into music, not only as listeners, but as creators as well?
You let them go through their course, man, because the thing about music is that it also comes from a history, like us as people. We come from a history. You have a mom and a dad, and a history that made them who they are, and they came together, made you who you are, and your kids are going to be an amalgamation of you and whoever you choose to have children with. Let them explore music. I mean, that's the only thing you really can do. If you try to force someone into a situation, they're less likely to get into it. All this stuff leads down a trail of breadcrumbs that leads you to modern music, and what I've seen mostly with the kids in this new era is that they'll dig into the new stuff, but they come to find out even that their heroes are listening to older stuff, and their heroes listen to older stuff. That's what's going to get them back into it, and also finding a way to speak to them. I talk about that formula, and being able to communicate with people in different genres. Maybe I know a lot of people are like consider mumble rap to not be the thing. That's like, oh, I don't like the way they rap, I don't like the way they do this, but like that's what they're listening to right now. So the question isn't so much like how do we cancel mumble rap, it's how do you take what you're doing and infuse it into their language so they can get on board with what you're doing, so you can introduce them to the new stuff, or to the older stuff, I should say. And
by the way, happy belated birthday, August 23rd. You just had one. You just turned 36 years old. Right. We got a big show coming up here in Greenville in about a week. Saturday, September 10th, Harley Davidson of Greenville, 6:30 to 11. You're going to be on the stage. It's going to be a ball. I know it absolutely will be. And look, Clemson and South Carolina fans right here in this neck of woods, they got no reason not to come out. Both teams play early that day, and they're going to need something to do. They're going to need some place to vent some frustrations and come out and have a good time. So we are really, really excited to have you around here next Saturday night. Being that you only got one record out and a couple of singles on top of that, how are you going to flesh out the rest of a show?
I've been on tour now for about for a year straight. I've been doing this for about 10 years, and so I don't know. I think I got that one in the bag. I think I got a little experience to carry me along. So,
well, man, we are really, really excited. I appreciate you taking the time today, and obviously come out here and melt some faces in just about a week.
Looking forward to it, man.